Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Express the Music of Your Soul, the 7-week journey to discover your inner sound wisdom and release fear, trauma, and shame during these days of solitude. My name is Nadira, and it is my pleasure to be hosting this hour-long Q&A call for the Shift Network, where we will explore the teachings of Chloe Goodchild and address questions about her upcoming 7-week course, which begins next Tuesday, May 26th. Later, I will explain how you can participate in this course, even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, I want to take a moment to introduce our special guest. Chloe Goodchild is the founder of The Naked Voice, a pioneering experiential vocal training program providing a sound awareness toolkit of conscious core practices, music, audiobooks, and spoken meditations that empower you to find and embody your authentic voice. She established the Naked Voice Charitable Foundation in 2004 to disseminate a deeper awareness of the essential role conscious communication plays in strengthening ethical awareness, social health, and well-being in all realms of human life. Her book, The Naked Voice, Transform Your Life Through the Power of Sound, invites you on a compelling adventure of self-discovery and creative fulfillment through a direct experience of your own authentic voice. And her podcast series, which launched in 2019, explores and celebrates the transformative impact of compassion with new paradigm teachers, musicians, authors, artists, social activists, new scientists, and entrepreneurs who are making a difference in the world. Chloe, welcome to the call.
Hello. Great to be here.
It's so good to see you.
It's great to see you again. Absolutely great. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
I think so. I fully agree. So we want to devote as much of our time together as possible to your questions for Chloe. So if at any time during this call you want to learn more about the course, please visit medicinevoicecourse.com to see the full description. And if you have any questions for our customer service department, you can contact our customer support team directly at support.theshiftnetwork.com. And now let's dive into the questions. If you have a question for Chloe and you haven't already, please offer your questions and I am happy to read them. Please also be aware that we have a lot of questions that have come in, so we may not be able to get to all of them. The first question that I wanted to offer you, because I saw several people who were asking some version of this question, is from Jennifer, who says, "This course really appeals to me because I haven't got a lot of confidence in my voice and I haven't got a great voice. I loved what I experienced in the taster workshop, but the idea of singing in a choir is putting me off, or singing in triads putting me off even more, precisely because of this lack of confidence. So I'm a bit confused. Is this course for people with no confidence right now in their singing voice? Because it seems as if you need quite a bit of confidence and ability to do the course. Thank you."
Mm-hmm. Well, I just really thank you so much for your question. It's such a deep question for humanity at the moment. We're going through such a challenging time on Earth, aren't we? And so this really, truly is a course for absolutely everyone, because however strong your sense of confidence is, there's always deeper to go. There's always much deeper to go. And so I would welcome you. I would welcome you to also just consider that, given what's going on in the world, your relationship with your voice right now is not something, it's not about performance. It's not about you're going to be required to impress us. It's not about you're going to be required to attain some kind of goal, for which there will be serious assessment and judgment of you. There is no question. Please know that you're not alone, because so many people, when I ask them, how do you feel about your voice? They will say to me exactly what you've just said. So know that you are one of the 7, moving on to 8 billion people who are all really now, more than ever before, really seeking to find that voice that is, we call it a voice that is older and deeper than the polarity of conflict itself. So we're going somewhere really deep inside the heart, inside your heart, to really find your authentic expression. This is what matters, isn't it? And that can be gentle, it can be a whole range of things. But what matters is that you discover that place. You know, it's like this has to be now, you know. And I sense that if you're on this call, you'll be aware of that now is the time. And you're going to find yourself in amongst people like yourself asking these questions. And for so many hundreds of thousands of years, you know, we have been undermining, you know, there's been this sense of undermining our voices feeling undermined. The whole emphasis on a love of power, of dominion, you know, of ownership. All these areas have ever so subtly and not so subtly really compelled many people to feel that they haven't got a voice to share in the world. So not only will we be exploring your voice within the context of your life, your own personal life, but we're also going to be looking at how the more confidence, and that means with faith, doesn't it? Confidence means confidere. That actually means with faith, having faith in yourself. And that means faith in yourself without requiring that faith or permission to come from the outside. It's got to come from the inside out. So know that it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be quite rigorous too. As regards your concern about the triads and the choral dimension, this one of the unique features of this work is that as we slowly learn to build non-judgmental awareness of our own sound and of each other, we start to build a field of very deep listening together that is all-inclusive. It's just all-inclusive, everyone welcome, no one left out, okay? And so the journey we're going on is going to take you from an initial relationship with your voice as yourself, your voice in your own very close-in personal life, okay? And gradually, as the field strengthens and builds throughout the 7 weeks, by the time we get to about week 5, you'll find yourself in such an inclusive, friendly environment that we're then going to be moving from the solo voice, gradually building that voice so you can start to feel the support of other people. So it won't be a performance, the experience you'll have of singing with what I call the anthemic voice. It will be more one of like a village community coming together to really share their sound as a gift for the world. So it won't be about, okay, are we going to do this performance and will people judge us, or have we got to entertain or impress out there? None of that. It's purely for the healing of one's own self and then the world around us. Okay, so it's all about connecting with the center of the chest, with the heart center and the voice of your own heart and soul. So I hope that kind of answers some of your questions.
Beautiful, thank you. And actually, you're touching on the heart center, I think transitions really beautifully into this next question, which is from Jude, who says, I am 66 and have spent most of that time believing I can't sing, which you just addressed. And I fear there might be emotional release when I start to believe I can. What if I cry all the way through the course?
Oh, God bless you. So we're the same age. So this is really exciting. It's really nice to know that I'm going to have peers there, people like myself who really care a lot about this, and I can hear that you do. When you get to our age, it feels more important than ever, doesn't it? That we really do all the things, before we leave the planet that we really wanted to do together. So tears, the whole range of human emotion is welcome. It's welcome because within your tears, you'll find a music, a very, very exquisite music. The tears, if you like, inform your experience of your voice. So that's nothing to be concerned or afraid of. In fact, I actually actively encourage tears, if you like. So when tears are happening, for me, it's like the river of the soul is really starting to flow. And it's all about the soul. It's all about your soul song. And we're going to be exploring several different vocal genres, if you like, the lament, the invocation, sacred utterance, devotional chanting, prayer, and all of these vocal forms that can gradually build into what I call the anthemic voice. And the anthemic voice is the voice of the field of us as a community, as a gathering. That could be the field of a family, or it could be the field of the whole world. It could be the field of a whole country, or the whole of the planetary mind itself. So my great passion is to explore how we can really not only find our voice, but really build a consciousness within and through our voice. So we're going to be bringing skills of what I call sound awareness, how to listen to yourself without any judgment whatsoever, these kind of things. So, and also we need you within this field, because one thing we've lost, of course, particularly in Western culture, is our attention to wisdom eldership. And as we're witnessing in our communities right now, in the care homes and so on, how much more attention is required there at this time of unprecedented change and challenge for everyone. And we need the wisdom of our elders right now to be singing their hearts out as well. So very much hope you'll be joining us.
Thank you. Diana says, I am a jazz and popular music singer. However, when I was exploring my voice 20 years ago and in a special improvisation week-long workshop, the instructor came to me after the second session and said, when you sing like that, it is as though an ancient voice jumps into your chest. I feel that too, I replied. The freedom, fun, and confidence in the way he engaged us gave me the same interior freedom. My question is, how can I capture that again and find a permanent home for my deep and ancient voice?
Well, I sense you know the answer to the question, and it's really important to ask the question, because in asking the question, the answer comes. And in our work, silence is absolutely pivotal in this questioning and answering, and in this ever-deepening self-inquiry process that we're going to be involved in together. Really inquiring, who am I? Where does this voice come from? And the reality is, that is so important. And in our performing world, my daughter is a jazz musician. I know what that's like, to be in a world where the focus is on, the performance, the end result, and all of that. In our work, what we love to do is to really allow silence in. And silence is the resting ground of this work. And it is the inspiration for this work. So when we're exploring the voice, if you like, as a gateway into silence, as a gateway into a state of peace that we might have felt we lost a long time ago, So it's that sense of peace and equilibrium and stability that the silence gives us. You may remember, if you were present with us in the opt-in call last week with Stephen, we were exploring really how the whole question of when you make a sound, how about you just consider what quality of silence your voice leaves behind, every bit as much as the sound itself. So this alchemy between sound and silence is going to be a very unique and very essential part of our practice together. It brings us into a deep state of soul, and we start to realize, my goodness, my voice, my ordinary voice, is actually, it's a catalyst for spiritual practice. And that's really where my passion is most strong with this work. And that spiritual practice can be felt within the solitude of one's own home very strongly. We're going to learn what that means so that we don't have to feel isolated at this time. As, the whole notion of self-isolation, that kind of conjures up really quite a kind of lamenting song, right? A sense of being separate from others. And a lot of the work we're going to be doing is exploring how your silence, your inner sound, how your spoken and your sung voice all come together as a seamless river of consciousness, if you like. The very fact that we've separated of our speaking voice from our singing voice, for example, has kind of separated the left and right brain. So one thing we're going to be really making sure that we unify as quickly as possible is that understanding of embodying your voice in such a way as you start to hear the music in your own speaking and the depth of soul that comes from, for example, reciting poetry, and to hear that poetic soul within your own singing voice. So there's no separation anymore between speaking and singing, and no separation anymore between yourself and the world, yourself and others, or yourself from yourself.
Thank you. For those of you who are just joining us, we are here with Chloe Goodchild, learning about her upcoming course, Express the Music of Your Soul, which begins on Tuesday, May 26th. Please log on to medicinevoicecourse.com for all the details and to register. Our next question is from Roslyn, who says, I am a vocalist and have struggled to completely let go with my singing. I find I look for excuses to hold myself back from being in my power. For example, my neighbor, who is working from home, called me 2 weeks ago to tell me my, quote, noise disturbed her conference call. Since then, I have been giving her the power. I've been offered a chance to send a video of myself singing to someone who has a weekly online show. I'm procrastinating in recording myself because I have to use a small acoustic amp. So again, afraid of disturbing the neighbor. How can I overcome this?
That sounds like, that is quite a challenge, isn't it? When our egoic mind comes up against the egoic minds of others, and it's very, very challenging. I'm right here living almost on top of my my daughter and her partner. We're in my apartment here in England. And it's just mind-blowing, how the egoic mind can come in and go, wait a minute, That is my space. You've just stepped over into my territory, and there's all of that goodness to actually, what would it be like to hear the music of the street, of the whole street, between where your dwelling is and where your neighbor's dwelling is. So there's a whole music there that is being created by your two powerful personalities, if you like. And so when we actually start to strengthen our non-judgmental listening, right, we start to hear the world around us and ourselves in participation with the world around us in a whole new way. For example, things start happening you never imagined would happen. Like on my balcony, these two blackbirds have just shown up. And there's this really shrill sound I've been hearing for weeks. I didn't know where it was coming from. And they've come closer and closer and closer in. And they have compelled me to start really listening to new frequencies of sound. That if I was just like concentrating on my voice, right, or, withstanding another's voice, I might have missed out on these two blackbirds. And it turns out they're literally nesting in the hedge in front of me. So I would encourage you to breathe. And breathing is going to be a really integral part of our work together, to really strengthen the whole breath of the body, to strengthen the diaphragm muscle, to strengthen the whole lower upper connection, to strengthen the three wills. So that's to say the instinctual will of your belly, the intuitive will of your heart center, and the insightful will or the compassionate will of the pineal gland, of your third eye, that capacity to want to serve out there. So I guess I would simply ask you to do what I'm doing, which is instead of jumping in and creating a struggle for myself, to consider just breathing a little bit more deeply and to listen to what the music is between myself and this other. There's a music there between our two notes that's probably worth listening to. And in that listening, that may well impact and serve the journey you're finding yourself on with your own voice. And by the way, when you used the word struggle at the beginning of your question, I thought, great. We have got to be willing. We've got to really strengthen our own self-determination. I was talking with my daughter about this as we were both kind of having a little bickering session the other day. And just suddenly we have so got to get over ourselves. We have so got to get over ourselves now. And it's as if this time and this apparent collective constraint is compelling us to find a way of communicating somewhere we've never been that really can shift this collective love of power that has dominated the world for so many years with the unconditional presence of love. That's to say, the power of love itself. So love and the language of love is going to be our leader in this work. There's a lot more to share about that.
That was beautiful. Thank you. This next question is from Even, who says, hello. Is singing flat an indication of anything? For example, lack of trust in voice and sound? Or is it simply not having trained my voice yet to match the sound I want to create?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. Because who decides that you're singing flat? Did somebody else tell you you were singing flat? Or has somebody given you a song that you actually need to sing in a higher or a lower range? This course we're going to be involved in together is all about really accessing a leadership of your own, which really allows you to make decisions about how you sing, what you sing, the freedom and the spontaneity that can come and the wildness that can come with your own singing voice. So I would ask you to really investigate that question about flat. Because it's flat perhaps in terms of a specific certain range you're wanting to sing, but how about just shifting the whole song down a semitone and then see if it's still flat? But you know what? Your question it really reminds me of when I was a kid at school and the pain I experienced watching the majority of children who were applying to be in the choir, the school choir, being turned away because they just simply weren't able to sing, the range that was required for that choir, given the songs they were going to be singing. And my hunch is, and it's like over 30, 40 years of exploring this with people, so many people, when you ask them, how do you feel about your voice? They will say, I haven't got one. And when you say, well, what does that actually mean? They will say, very often, I was thrown out of the choir, I was told to shut up, and all of these things. So again, enjoy your sound. Before we even get to the melody of it or the potential song form of it, we're going to go right deep inside to sound before sound. So silence, as we've spoken, will be very important, but also the sound that comes non-verbally from the body before any form is imposed upon it at all. And that sound comes from an awareness of what we call fundamental consciousness. And that fundamental consciousness is what I call an unchanging note. It's like a metaphor for unconditional love, that which is always present, And it's just uncanny and amazing to me how our voices can teach us so much about the nature of love. And if that involves singing flat sometimes, there's a sweetness and a kind of little, there's a mood in there that's perhaps wanting to be heard. What is that mood?
I love that. And I also love that you're touching on it's not just being in the experience when it feels like a positive thing. It's being in the fullness of the experience, including the challenges.
Oh my God, absolutely, absolutely. And in the theme of the title of this course, we are talking about really addressing the music of trauma, of separateness, of fear. And very often what I find with fear, for example, when you actually ask somebody to sing fear, somebody says, I'm really frightened. And you say, okay, so what does frightened sound like? It's incredible that it's like a kind of, what comes out of the mouth very often is a kind of withheld energy that suddenly giving expression to itself is actually the complete antidote of fear. It's courage. It's the rage of the heart. Courage. Cœur, rage du cœur. Also, we're going to be exploring how fear is also, it's like awe, something we've forgotten, wonder. I've noticed recently people have been sending me these sweet little videos with toddlers hugging each other and children singing completely, unselfconsciously. And it's that kind of innocence that exists even within fear itself. There's a hidden innocence in there that is just sometimes it's the lost child inside us, it's the one that was just literally discarded, that part of ourselves that was discarded, the one that used to wonder and play and dream, And with our work, we don't just sing songs like about fear or songs to make fear go away. It's not at all. We go right straight into what is fear? What does that sound like? And it's not just like some kind of psychodramatic experience where you just like let off a whole load of hot air and then, in fact, that just can be really exhausting. You're listening. We're going to be learning to listen to our sound within the context of this fundamental consciousness. And that means that not only have we got to have the courage to sound the full spectrum of emotion and to really hear the majesty of our own music, but we've got to develop a skillful means of listening to ourselves and others in such a way as that music really does become a reconnection with the music of the spheres, the music of a unified planetary mind. It's all there. We know it's there. My daughter told me, we just had, apparently in England, these wild storks, birds that haven't lived in England for hundreds of years have suddenly returned to the island and are nesting here. I mean, wow. And it's the sound of nature. It's our reconnection with the music of nature that is going to be very inspiring for us and very empowering for us as we remember ourselves as human beings that are utterly at one with nature itself. Let's go there.
I love that. I love it. There are two questions that I'm trying to decide which one to offer to you. I'm going to go with this one, but I feel as though maybe we might need to circle back around and I'll bring the other one back. So this particular question is from Judith, who says, why is singing with others more healing than singing alone?
Isn't that interesting? So that is your experience. Why is singing with others more? Yes, than singing alone. So that's your experience. And what is that? I think you probably know the answer to that question. And there's something about singing in community, isn't it? If you think of your body itself, this human body, which the great Bruce Lipton talks about as 50 trillion cells, we're made up of 50 trillion interconnected cells, all of them vibrating at a great rate, right? And a lot of the time, we just don't even think of ourselves. This body itself is made of music. This body itself is a field of music. It's a whole choral field in itself, even before we think about anyone else. So when you talk about singing with yourself, in fact, consider the idea, the notion, and the experience that you're singing with the community of 50 trillion cells that all are just very intelligently pulled together and drawn together by this extraordinary skin all around us. Yeah? I deeply resonate with your love of singing with others. And of course, what that does is we are seeing played out online so much at the moment in pre-recorded kind of virtual choirs. But as you will, so many of us know, that choral singing is just like, you can just forget yourself, can't you? You can lose yourself within that wider field of sound. And no one is more important than anyone else. The choir itself really offers a whole new form of leadership, doesn't it? where ideally there's no followers and no leaders. If you think of the indigenous communities for whom singing together is an integral part of everyday life, let's bring that back. Let's bring that back. But also, I think what you're highlighting is the absolute terror of being shown up and or having to stand out, and maybe be judged by others, for not getting it right. Or also, then there is the angst or the fear or the sorrow or the grief of accessing one's sound alone, right? So what we're going to be exploring is how we can develop new awareness skills to enable us not only to hear our sound, not only to express the full spectrum of our sound, but to develop a real embodiment of our sound that is utterly, authentically, and uniquely yours. And that can be speaking or singing, And then we're going to be finding these places in between speaking and singing. If you think of somebody that just says, I feel really frightened, that's an incredible music. Frightened can be, oh. You can, if you can actually just allow yourself to befriend it, you start to hear there's an energy inside that really just wants to be heard. And as with homeopathy, which is the aligning of apparently opposing forces and the complementarity of forces, if you ask sadness what sadness sounds like, it can turn into all kinds of places of wonder and beauty and gentleness and loving tenderness, It's about listening. It's all about listening. And we're going to be doing a lot of listening to each other, to ourselves primarily, and primarily listening within the presence of silence and listening to how silence itself can inform the heart song. So perhaps in a minute we'll do a little meditation just to explore that a bit more deeply.
That would be wonderful. Just a quick reminder to everyone listening that you can learn more about this course and register online at medicinevoicecourse.com. This next question really excited me when I saw it. And then when you started speaking about vibrations, I knew I wanted to offer it to you next. This is from Sheridan, who says, my enjoyment of singing is increased when I can feel the vibrations in my face, head, and other parts of my body. Do you have any suggestions for this?
Well, just come and join us and show us how it's done, is what I would say. I love what you say, and I deeply resonate with what you're saying. In our work, we also do integrate lots of what I call energy movement. And so, I'm just sitting here today. But when we're actually working together within the course, we're going to be exploring energy movements that really open up different locations of consciousness within the body that are really going to give voice and assist us, empower us to give voice to ourselves, to what we most long for, to what we most love, and all of that. And so dance, movement, very important, very, very important. Let's go there, definitely.
Wonderful. So we're going to have time for one or two more questions. And Chloe, if you do want to offer the meditation, I think it would be wonderful. And I would love to leave space for that as well. Before we take those questions and or participate in the meditation, I want to mention Express the Music of Your Soul once more. This is clearly, as you can see, participating here today. This is going to be a transformative 7-week journey under Chloe's healing and inspiring guidance. This course takes place on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, starting Tuesday, May 26th. If for any reason you cannot join us live, you won't miss the teachings. You will receive audio and video replays, transcripts, and all course handouts via your course homepage. And I'd like to remind you that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on our courses, giving you a full 2 weeks until June 9th in this case, to make sure you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect via a private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. And everyone who registers for this course will receive the Express the Music of Your Soul bonus collection, which include the following bonuses: Reading from the Naked Voice, Transform Your Life Through the Power of Sound, ebook and audio excerpts from Chloe, Heart Sutra and audio recording from Chloe, Ecstatic Love Poems, 2 audio recordings from Chloe's new spoken song series, Ave Maria, an audio recording of Chloe singing Caccini's classic, and 7 Sounds of Love, a PDF book chapter. And Chloe, can you speak a little bit about what you are most looking forward to sharing in this upcoming course?
Oh my goodness. I am so excited about this course because my feeling is it's like it's somewhere I've never been, let alone you've never been. And so whereas within our work, within the Naked Voice, we have a whole range of wonderful practices, templates and sound codes and energy movements and so on that really enable you to open up the different dimensions of your voice and also to really discover this groundbreaking relationship with silence, which is very much forgotten in our particularly in our Western idea of what singing is. But I think what most excites me is that I have never designed a course that really is being led by these kind of initially non-verbal vocal forms. So like the lament, for example, these are ancient forms. The keening that you will hear in Ireland, ways of embodying our grief, ways of embodying our sound, our sorrow, in such a way as we can really propel, that sound can really help us to grow and to strengthen in new ways and to realize the medicine of our emotions. That it's incredible how the emotions themselves literally open the doorways without needing any words, without needing any song sheets. It's coming directly from the soul itself. And it's that direct connection from silence through the soul, empowered by the spirit of the individual, that is so exciting to me. I'm just a sort of incurably optimistic and enthusiastic person. But just the idea of moving from what is the sound of lamenting and invocation. Have you ever thought about that? And then how about the placing of sacred utterance in your life? In our childhood, we were taught to, sing prayers related to other religious, to religious, specific religious traditions. And everything was kind of set out, if you like, in quite a sort of formal and already preformed way. But this is more about how does prayer fall out of you? How does prayer become spontaneous song without any words at all? And one thing I haven't mentioned, which is my great, great love, is what I call spoken song. It's that bridging between non-verbal utterance and more formalized singing. And spoken song, which is very much, for me, has been inspired by mystical love poetry, for example. So we'll be using the catalysts of mystical love poetry in there to really feed and fuel and nourish the soul in ways that are not religious. They're not like bound by specific institutionalized belief systems. They're free of that. And that's going to be a pretty magical component of this. And then this evolution towards the anthemic voice. I've never actually organized a group in this way, certainly not online. In fact, my choral days seem to be returning at the moment. It's been quite a while since I was singing in choirs, but I did that all my childhood. I absolutely loved choirs so much. And that seems to be now returning. And so for us to be, and in collaboration with the Shift Network, I'm so grateful that we're going to be pioneering, if you like, not a choral performance, but it's like a choral opportunity, a field of sound in which you will find your respective individual voices leaping out like fish out of the ocean, if you like, and returning. Very simple, in fact. So it won't be a kind of pre-recorded show that we're going to put on. No way. It's just exploring how we as a field can give thanks, if you like, and can really celebrate our shared song and our individual songs within the field of our sound as a gift for the world.
Thank you. So this next question, I'm actually going to attempt to merge two questions because they are somewhat similar, though the people offering them are in different circumstances. Karen says, I know what it feels like to love the sound of your singing voice. I was a singer, but 6 years ago, I developed a vocal dysphonia, and now I can only sing and speak comfortably in my high register. And Helen says, I've never had a strong voice, let alone sung much at all. But both of them are asking questions about how to navigate this experience or this course if they are finding that their voices are weak or their connection to singing has been lost. What are some things that they can do or that they will get to experience as a result of joining this course?
Wow, I'm just so touched by what you said, because what I hear, and I hear it within myself, is a kind of vulnerability of this time. And I would invite you, and by the way, vulnerability is good news. We're really into, but without vulnerability, this work is not possible. We have to be willing to open and share to the music of our vulnerability. But thank you for sharing, more the kind of physical challenges of the voice. But I would really encourage you to let your voice be exactly as it is to begin with. Let's just let it be exactly as it is. And that's where our attention to silence and how the silence itself and the way we listen to ourselves without judging, without deciding that our voice is too strident or weak or something, right? We need to become awake to how the egoic mind starts to tell us who we are or what we can and cannot do with our voice. And that's when we kind of contract back into a kind of state of separateness. So we've got to learn, we're going to be learning how we can really access a relationship with ourselves that doesn't require any judging, that is not stuck in old narratives, if you like. So it is going to be including those old narratives in new ways, because it's kind of sometimes the narratives of the past give us messages about the music of our voices now. And so we're going to be listening to the sound exactly as it is. What would that be like? I was deaf as a child. I had traumatic surgery on my ears as a child. And so for 3 years, I couldn't really hear anything on the outside. And you might respond by going, oh my God, that is terrible, But the reality was that actually gave me the opportunity to hear myself in a way that I might never have done. So I invite you to let your voice be exactly as it is, and then to allow the whole field of your listening to nourish and to nurture who is here in this sound, and also in this not sound, in the absence of sound. Absence of sound itself is another kind of music. Have a think about that. That's worth reflecting on. Yes. So we're working with the polarities of our nature, with absence and with presence. The voice we want, what kind of music is that? And the voice that is right now, can you feel what the egoic mind will do given half a chance? So this course is all about just letting yourself be yourself and hearing the sound of that. And then we will have a lot of opportunity to really learn from each other. So there will be these breakout rooms as well, where you won't be in the large field of the group. You'll have an opportunity to be in smaller groups where people will be practicing this non-judgmental listening. And so you'll have an opportunity there to really make deep friendships with people and to learn from the way other people are engaging with their sound, consciously, creatively, and compassionately. The compassion word is really where it begins and ends. Thank you for your question.
That was beautiful. And in the process, you may have actually already answered the final question that I was saving, which was from Anne, who said, I love the idea of listening without judgment to our voice. Can you explain more about how this is done? So maybe you have some more words to share about that, or maybe you've touched on it as much as is necessary in this call. I leave it to you.
Well, that's a really important question. How do we stop judging ourselves? Obviously, there are many traditions, meditation traditions, for example, that teach you how not to judge, right? And sometimes that will involve a very deep, in-depth work where you sit. And I used to do all kinds of crazy things, like to actually just sort of start to master my egoic mind. I once spent some time with a Goodchild master in Paris, and the only instruction he gave me was to hold my hands out and to abandon myself. What? He said, just abandon yourself. So I would stand in this posture for hours and hours and hours, going through this kind of excruciating journey with my egoic mind. And every now and again, there'd be this sense of, wow, look who thinks she's holding up her arms. Look who thinks that she's suffering, right? What starts to happen when we start to learn the skill of observing ourselves without judging? And it's a lot of fun because, to begin with, if you haven't practiced this before, you spend quite a lot of time going, oh my God, I've just done it again. So it's not about, kind of giving yourself a hard time for it. But in our small groups, particularly, you'll have the chance to explore what it's like to listen in two ways at once. So that you're listening as in you're just observing yourself, right? Or observing another singing, for example, or another person expressing themselves, right? And so your practice there is just to realize that is their life. I am just here as their non-judgmental friend, and I'm just going to listen, and I'm just going to be in complete unconditional, self-observing, benign indifference to what this person is doing. So because it's not you singing to begin with, you realize, wow, I can do this. I can do this. And of course I want that other person to really hear themselves. So that sheer act of course I want that person to, you start to visit that on yourself. Of course I want to hear myself in my absolute uniqueness and truth and authenticity. All right? So witnessing, learning how to witness without judging is one of the skills that we develop, along with intuitive listening. So you're more like a loyal friend. So the witnessing, you're in the, if you like, the sort of objective relationship with another or with yourself as you listen. And then the loyal friend, you're in a subjective relationship at the same time. And what happens in these small groups is that you rotate the roles of observing, of listening without judging, of, as the loyal friend, when you're listening to them as if they are just the most incredible sound, whatever it is. Unbelievable. How did you do that? And you're like the person's best friend. And as you practice this with each other, you then start to visit these skills upon yourself. And so you'll discover that there are these very, very deep anchoring, stabilizing practices that we use that will enable you to start, can you imagine, listening to yourself and expressing yourself without judging. It's your voice, it's your unique voice, it's your time for this.
Thank you. It's always so delicious to get to spend time with you, Chloe. The teachings that you offer, your compassionate delivery and invitation, it's something that I've appreciated when I've gotten to sit in space with you, and that I really appreciate getting to witness you doing for others as well. So thank you. And thank you to everyone for being with us on the call. Express the Music of Your Soul starts next week, Tuesday, May 26th. And again, please visit medicinevoicecourse.com to learn more or to register. Chloe, do you have any final words that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, I would just like you to really consider what could happen, what you would like to happen in 7 weeks with your voice, and to come and to watch the unfolding journey of your wish, and to realize your own authentic voice, and to realize the medicine of it. We haven't spoken much about the medicine, but the healing that our ordinary, everyday voices offer us is so profound. And it's almost like it's an untapped resource that we've gone everywhere else, but we've forgotten just to really come home to our own voice. And it really is the center of operations of a real consciousness, and a way of living that is so joyous and so profound and true. It's true. And a lot of humor involved, by the way. So if you're really, if you've been missing laughing is another very essential part of the whole spectrum of emotion that we'll be exploring. There's a lot of joy to be found here. A lot of joy. There is one little song that may I share with you with a
Yes,
meditation. Do we
absolutely.
have time for that? Yeah.
We are winding down, but time is spacious and means nothing. So, yes, we can take a couple moments.
Okay. I'd just like to invite everyone to just close your eyes, bring your awareness to the middle of your feet, and just to take your awareness right down into the roots of the earth and this incredible Gaia planet we are on. And to be aware of yourself and your choice to be here at this time on earth, and of the potential of your voice to sing, to sound a new life into being, or a new world into being. And there's a beautiful poem that goes like this. I have a feeling that my boat has struck down there in the depths against a great thing. I have a feeling that my boat has struck down there in the depths against a great thing. And nothing happens. Nothing happens. Is it that nothing happens? Or are we standing in the new life? Are we standing in the new life? Let's take a breath.
I love
Breathe
it.
in. And just sounding the Om all together.
Thank you. It doesn't even feel like I should say words right now. So I'm just going to let us be in this space. Thank you to everyone who's been here, and thank you, Chloe, for your beautiful self.
Thank you, everyone. It's such a privilege to be here at this time with you. Thank you. Thank you.